Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is our 2019 NPC Junior National Overall Men's Bodybuilding Champ, Nathan Epler. Welcome to the show.
Hey Dave, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Congratulations on the big win. Right off the bat, I got to say, it really irks me that nowadays, in today's society where we're giving away a lot of pro cards at all these shows, especially the Junior Nationals, that they don't give the men's bodybuilding at least overall champion a pro card. Was that disappointing for you?
It was, in a sense, a little bit disappointing. I do kind of agree that I think the overall champion should, have an opportunity to win the pro card. But then again, I'm kind of old school in the fact that I really like it as the stepping stone.
Sure.
So I wanted to do Junior Nationals regardless. I wanted to get my feet wet on a national scene.
Right.
And, just the opportunity to compete with the best in the country. So.
Yeah. Well, last year you had a good run. You won a couple of overall titles on the regional level. You weighed, I think you said you were weighing about 205. You told me before the show you gained 10 pounds of muscle over the last year. You came back here at 215, and you still got 10 pounds in this weight class to grow into, and you really dominated. I mean, Chris Aceto and I were talking about it on the radio, and we were very impressed with your conditioning level and what you brought to the stage in Chicago.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely had a great off season. We put in a lot of work on the posterior chain, back, improving the legs. Even though my legs have always been a strong point, I really knew that if I want pro level legs, I'm going to have to take it to the next level. So made a lot of improvements. Yeah, I put on about 10 pounds, and it was a success.
What did you do to work on your legs over this last off season?
I really kind of went back to some of the old school methods and just training to true failure. I think it's lacking a lot nowadays in bodybuilding and
Sure.
fitness. People are not really taking their physiques and pushing the limit to true failure. And some days it wasn't always extremely heavy weight, and some days it was. It just was just taking that muscle to complete failure and keeping the form as perfect as possible.
Yeah. I mean, you're 25 years old, but you've been working out for a long time. I mean, since you were a teenager, you told me you were a wrestler in high school. Obviously, wrestling, you don't really train your legs much anyway, so it's really more of an upper body type of a sport. And I know I was involved with a lot of kids that were into wrestling, and so everyone was working out in the weight room with their upper body. Was it a hard transition from wrestling to bodybuilding? Because I know because wrestling is very disciplined already. I mean, so you have to be so strict on your diet. You got to make weight, and I would think it's kind of a natural progression.
Yeah, I think I agree completely. And you see a lot of good, successful wrestlers that turn into bodybuilders because they correlate really well. And for me, it was the same. I got into the gym at a very early age. I had a great strength coach, and he really, instilled the love for bodybuilding in me and training hard and what it meant to train hard. And so right when I got done with wrestling, it was kind of an easy progression. I knew I wanted to get bigger. I actually was 130 pounds my senior year. So in 2012, I weighed 130.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. What do you think, what do you attribute to the fact that you've gained so much muscle so quickly over the last couple of years? Has it just been eating more? Do you have a good metabolism? Well, I was eating like 12 times a day, and that's how I put on the weight, because I had a very fast metabolism. Everything I ate kind of turned to muscle, but it was basically I had to get all that food in that I wasn't used to eating on a regular basis,
Yeah, I think the turning point for me, I mean, obviously I was in college the last few years. I graduated in 2016. And at that point, I was just eating anything I could get my hands on, and I didn't really know a whole lot about the nutrition side. And then when I started working with some coaches and really learning myself what worked for me and the nutrition aspect, that's where it kind of took off. And then this last off season was my first truly structured off season with a coach. We were eating, upwards of 6,000 calories every single day.
Sure.
And just really pushing ourselves.
Was that a challenge? Did you find that to be like a big challenge? Because people think it's cool to, off season, can't wait, I can eat all this food. But after a while, it's not that fun to eat, 8 times a day, and it's certainly not fun to eat 6,000 calories a day because not every meal is going to be something that you actually want to ingest.
Yeah, it was rough. It was very rough at some points, especially I was eating about 7 meals a day. And we did it for 3 to 4 months straight, where it was constant. It was almost 6,000 calories every single day.
Right.
And I was lethargic most of the time.
How heavy did you get?
I got up to about 240.
Okay, that's not too bad.
That was pretty good for me, but I really didn't pack on a lot of body fat, and that's what I think has made this prep very successful for me.
Right.
And it hasn't been as grueling as last year because I didn't get sloppy in the off season.
Right. Now, you seem like you're a very structured person, very meticulous and covering all the details in your prep and in your life. I'm just looking at the way you have everything arranged in the background. I can tell you're really anal about that stuff. Do you think that that's why you're very successful in bodybuilding, because you pay attention to all the details?
I think it has. Yeah, I think it attributes to it. I'm a little bit OCD in certain regards, and. But yeah, you have to be meticulous in this sport.
Of course.
You have to focus on every detail, and I think it makes it easier that I have that personality type, and I think it lends well to successful bodybuilding.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're you're only 25, but you won the juniors. A lot of guys use the juniors, like you said, as a stepping stone to a pro qualifier at the USA, North Americans, Nationals. Are we going to see you compete again this year, or are you shutting it down?
Yeah, 4.5 weeks, USA's.
Oh, cool. Excellent. So it's got to feel good to go into a show like the USA's with that kind of momentum, knowing that you won the juniors, and people now have an idea of who you are, whereas before maybe you were kind of off the radar.
Yep, that's exactly. It was that was another tactic of mine going into this year, and something I spoke with my coach about last year. Yeah. That I did want to do juniors as that stepping stone, and again, like you said, to kind of lead me into USA's.
Now, I'll tell you, I remember in 1995, that is, I won the Junior National Heavyweight class. 3 weeks later was the USA in Denver, Colorado. It was the most brutal 3 weeks of my life because you're in shape already, and you're just trying to get by and get through these last 3 weeks, or I think it might have even been 2 weeks for me back then. I hated it. It was. How are you feeling? After the juniors, now still continuing to diet, now waiting for the USA.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm suffering a little bit.
I made the mistake of not eating enough. I kept pushing myself, thinking that I needed to get harder when I was already in shape. I should have been eating up. Do you find yourself having to eat more than you were eating prior to the juniors, or are you pretty much at the same level of diet?
Very similar level of diet, slightly less. Cardio's increased just a tiny bit. Mm-hmm. We really want to get the skin a little bit tighter, very, very thin as we can get it. Yeah. Because I fill out really well. I take on carbs very well. And my coach, Matt Kuba, is my coach. Okay. He knows my body extremely well. I trust him completely. We've worked together for almost 2 years now. And, we really think that it's going to be a very successful package if I can bring this next level of conditioning and then peak on filling out like we did for juniors. Right.
Now you've been married. I'm actually shocked when you tell me, because usually a lot of 25-year-old guys are not married, but you've been with the same girl for 9 years. Is that stability in your relationship really helped attribute to your success in bodybuilding? Because sometimes I know a lot of guys, they have crazy relationships in and out, and it keeps them off track. I found when I was competing, I had a pretty stable relationship for also a long period of time during that time period, and I felt it helped me a lot.
It does. It helps me so tremendously much. And my wife, she didn't really like bodybuilding when we first got together.
Oh my God.
And we had some bumps in the road, but it was we've been together for so long, and she's been along for the ride. And
that's cool.
She's wonderful, and she's really helping me right now, especially as it gets a little bit tougher and I'm suffering a little bit more. She's doing some more of the cooking and helping me around the house do things like that. Right. So it's helping a lot.
Now, you actually have a real job too. You work for a mortgage company, which is kind of cool. How does that work with integrating the bodybuilding, having to go to the gym, usually probably twice a day between cardio and working out, and then you have the real job during the day, you got to bring your food with you. Is it make it more difficult?
No, it's very easy. I have a very supportive team around me, my boss, is very supportive. He loves bodybuilding. He's been into it for a long time. He doesn't compete himself, but he just has been around it.
Yeah.
So they knew when they hired me several years ago that this was something that I was very into.
Yeah.
But it works very well. And then I have a treadmill at home in my garage. So it helps me get my cardio done in the morning here at the house.
Yeah. Now, are you a functional human being when you're dieting and you're actually at work? I don't know how you do it, to be honest with you. The last 3 weeks, I was like, the last thing I wanted to think about was doing anything other than just going to the gym. How do you balance that in your life?
It's tough. And like I said, I mean, the beginning of the prep, actually my whole prep into juniors really was not that bad. And again, I attribute that to a good off season.
Right.
But, I think it's tough. And I really just try to grit my teeth. I'm a workhorse. That's just my mentality. I think it comes from wrestling and stems from my background.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are times where it's like I literally feel like I could fall asleep.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how you do it. You're probably living on coffee, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, when you first started dating your wife, you were how old? 16, you said?
Yeah, 16.
If I were to get her on the show and ask her what you were like at 16, did you have a very similar personality to what you have now, or have you changed a lot over the last 9 years?
That's kind of hard. I mean, I think as a person, I'm pretty similar.
Yeah.
People tell me that I'm an old soul, and so I've had a lot of the same kind of ideals and beliefs, and the way that I carry myself has been very similar my whole life, really, since I got into high school. But all the goals have changed. It was wrestling for a while, and then it was going to college and getting my degree, and then it was, bodybuilding. So it just is gradual.
Gotcha. Yeah, you seem very mature for your age. That's why I asked that.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
That is a compliment. Some people would take it as not a compliment, but it was definitely meant as a compliment. You look like you have your crap together, so to speak. Well, once again, the USA Championships are coming up in less than 4 weeks now at the end of July out there in Las Vegas. I guess there's you have what do they give them, 1 or 2 pro cards nowadays? I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I think it's 1 pro card per class, right?
Correct. Yeah, winner of each class gets a pro card.
Okay. So, when you look at the lineup, okay, and you look at last year's USA Championships, I know everyone always says, look, I want to focus on myself. Do you feel you have a good shot going in there to win this thing?
I really think I do. I mean, I've seen the competition, and I try not to get wrapped up in the competition because it just makes you go insane.
Sure.
Looking at other people, and ultimately all I can do is bring my best package. But I do really think that I have a good potential to win the heavyweight class. And that's not knocking any of the other guys. I've talked to a lot of the other guys that are doing the heavyweight class, and they're all, outstanding athletes. But I think the symmetry, the shape, the fullness that I can achieve is, I think, going to be enough to potentially win.
Well, I want to wish you guys the best of luck, the whole family out there. I know you're going to be bringing all the troops out there for support. Congratulations on the Junior Nationals, big win you had. And once again, those victories, they only last a couple days, then you got to go on to the next show. So best of luck, and hopefully you go home with that pro card.
Well, I really appreciate having me on, Dave. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nathan. And guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.